welcome to another up close video. Today's one is looking at Stamp Club number 10. I cannot believe we're on 10 stamp clubs already. And this one is called Sunshine and Sunflowers, and it is so gorgeous. It's really made me smile playing with this one because these sunflowers are just beautiful, and you know, bringing out your sort of bright yellow kind of colours, it does feel like so summery, and they're just so gorgeous, and you can't help but brighten someone's day using them. So there's some perfect sentiments on the stamp set to go with these beautiful sunshiny kind of images, which is really nice. So as with all of the stamp clubs, you get the A5 stamp set, and then you also get the A5 die set, which, as well as having dies that cut out all of the main like image stamps from the stamp set, you also have standalone dies in here as well, and you even have enough standalone dies to completely just make a project you know, with the sunflowers on without actually using any stamps either. So I think this is a nice versatile one for those of us who love our stamping but also our die cutting, because you can actually completely make a sunflower with leaves and a stalk just using the dies as well, which is really nice. So the links for this month's stamp club will be below the video. I usually say this at the end, but I thought I'd just put it at the beginning this month, and they are affiliate links. So if you do use my link and either buy this or anything else off the website, I'll get a small percentage of however much you spend on the website, and it's at no extra cost to use. So literally all you have to do is click one of my links below the video to either of the Tonic websites and then just place your order as you usually would. But by clicking my link first, you'll be supporting me and helping me earn a little bit of extra income, which helps me, you know, make more videos for you as well. But don't feel like you have to use my links either. I know I've been actually mentioning it more in videos recently, but don't feel bad if you don't want to buy the stamp club and you don't use my links. Just watching this video is support enough. So anybody who does or has ever used my links, I'm really grateful, but don't feel like you have to either. I just thought I'd say that because I don't think I've actually sort of said it, and you know. But anyway, let's get on to actually looking at this month's stamp club. So let's have a look at the gorgeous stamp set first. So we have some beautiful sunflower images. There are 3 gorgeous sunflowers. These two are very similar in size. I'd say this one is a tiny bit bigger, but this one has more of a side view. It's slightly looking from the side. You can see these petals look a little bit shorter than those ones, so you've just got a slight side view. So if you were arranging them in like a big vase, or if you had the country jug die set that came out a little while ago, I think it should be available on the website now, so I'll link that below as well if you're interested. These sunflowers would look brilliant in that jug, especially on like a DL card, because it's quite a long kind of jug, and then you could have the sunflowers coming out of it as well. Would look really lovely. So you have that large sunflower, this sort of slightly side view sunflower, and then you have one smaller one as well, so you can get that little bit of perspective in an arrangement, having this one like front and centre, this one slightly off to the side, and then this one sort of more in the background to show the perspective. And then you also have a fantastic corner of sunflowers as well, which again you have a kind of side view and different sizes for perspective as well. But you could build on this with these ones if you wanted maybe a larger corner for a larger card as well. You could either play around with the dies, although for this corner one you do only get the die that cuts out the edge of it rather than all the way around this edge as well, so you might have to do a little bit of fussy cutting if you wanted to do that, or you could easily just like die cut or fussy cut these out and layer them up on top to build up the design as well, and these ones would be more in the foreground, which makes sense for them being bigger as well, so it would work out quite nicely. Then, as well as all of the gorgeous actual flower heads, you've also got a stem in there, and this stamped stem is different to the die, so the die will not coordinate with the stamped stem. But even if it did, it's kind of practically impossible to get the stamp to stamp exactly as it should do to fit the die, because it's bendy, which is great because it means that if you wanted like this one sort of drooping off to the side and having like a curved stem coming out of it, you can actually curve this and stamp it, or if you're a little bit more confident with like using a fine black pen to add a detail or to draw your own stem, you could also then draw a longer stem if you wanted to, or even you know, one that splits off into two as well. I don't know if sunflowers actually do that, but you know, you could draw it so that it had two curves coming off of it as well if you wanted. So lots of different ways to alter the stem or just draw your own as well. And then to go with the stem you also get leaves, and in the stamps you only have 2 leaves, but in the dies you have the dies to cut out these 2 leaves, but there's also an extra leaf as well. So if you're just using the dies you actually have 3 leaves to choose from, which is really nice. Then I think some of my favourites, I do love the sunflowers, but some of my favourites are the little insects that they've included. So you've got this gorgeous side bee view, and it is so perfect. It really looks as if that bee has just landed on it when you like mask it out and add it on top of the sunflower. It looks so good. And then you also have this bee, which is kind of like the top view of the bee, so he could be flying off from the sunflower or flying towards the sunflowers, whichever way, he'll work perfectly. And then you have this sort of slight side view of the ladybird, which fits perfectly onto the leaf as well, which is really lovely. And the way the leaf is drawn and the side view of the ladybird, it looks perfect, like with perspective wise and stuff. Which is also really lovely. And then you also have the like front or top down view of a ladybird as well. So you could have the ladybird landing in the centre of the sunflower, you could have him crawling up the stalk of the sunflower, you could just make a whole background just with ladybirds as well, or even like have the ladybird leaving a trail. I know they don't really leave trails, but you know, like you would have, you might draw a trail behind a snail or a bumblebee or a butterfly. You could do a similar thing with the ladybird as well and have it kind of surrounding your sentiment or an image on the card. You know, there's loads of different ways of incorporating cute little critters and insects and stuff onto your cards. They could even just be sitting on top of like your sentiment. You could stamp your sentiment, cut it into a little rectangle, and then sit your little ladybird on top of it as well. I think they just add something extra to your card as well, because they give that pop of red, because obviously, well, most ladybirds are red. You can get yellow ones as well, but yeah, they just give that lovely pop of colour to your card. So adding just a single one or like 3 of them across a card looks really lovely. And you'll see that on my cards that I've done as well. So let's have a look at the die set, and I'll show you the dies that coordinate. I have also got some scraps of them to show you as well, and I find, I mean, I was talking to Dawny, who also does fabulous videos using Tonic's stamp clubs and stuff, so I'll link her YouTube channel below in case you want somebody else to watch for videos as well. But I was chatting with her and we were saying, were we finding it difficult to line up the sunflower dies on these? And so I've kind of thought of a way, well, I tend to look for a unique petal, something that sort of stands out. Maybe 2 of them are slightly further apart than others, or there's like a little mountainscape of them. But once you've figured it out, you kind of want to know exactly how the die goes round. So I've just created these templates, literally just cutting the dies out, and then I placed them on top of the sunflower, found the correct direction, and then just put an arrow pointing up to the top of the stamp set. And so I'm kind of thinking, if I've stamped the flowers out, I could then take this piece, look at that flower, look at the flower I've stamped out, line this up in the correct orientation. Like I can flip my card around depending how I've stamped this flower to look the same as this, and then I know that this little template points upwards in the direction of that arrow to get the perfect placement. And then you'll also get the perfect placement of the die around the flower as well, because then you can just take the die and keep twisting it until it fits into this perfectly. I don't know whether that would be a great solution for everybody or if you'd find that useful at all, but I just thought it might be a way of easily lining up the dies with the sunflowers, just because they have so many points on them. Sometimes you get really frustrated not being able to find the right way around for them, but I can show you my kind of method for doing it. So let's take this one, which does actually cut this one out. So the way I matched this up to go around this one is here, I notice this on the die, which is like one larger petal pointing that way, and because this one is, you know, sort of shorter petals around here and longer petals up here, I'm looking at a petal round here that's pointing up more, and I'm kind of noticing these two kind of point up a little bit more than others. So then I'm going to flip that over, and then I can sort of place that down and twist until it's actually in the right position. So if you don't want to faff around with something like this, the dies are designed perfectly so that you can see the edge, so that will actually cut that out perfectly. And the way I figure out, you know, which way around the die is supposed to go is I look for that sort of significant piece within the die. So for example, this one, I'm looking at that, and this bit is standing out to me here with like a smaller point and a larger point. So then I come to the actual flower, and I think possibly it could be here, this bit maybe. So I'll line that up and see. And it is that piece. No, it's not, is it? Yes, it is. So sometimes you just have to try it a couple of times. It's because my stamp's dirty on here. But then that is the match for that one. So once you sort of you know, pick a point on the die that looks really obvious. I'll do it with the final one as well, just to show you how much easier it is if you actually do it that way. So here, I can see there is like quite a large V on this portion, so I'm going to look at this place, and then I'm going to look on here for a larger V between two petals, and I'm kind of thinking it's probably this piece here. So if I then put that on, yes, it is that piece. So there is like one part in all of those sunflowers that does actually, you know, it gives more of a distinct look for you to be able to line the dies up. But if you struggle with that, these kind of templates are also perfect to do that with. Or you can also do the other way of doing it, where you would do this method like this, so that you would know exactly how it lined up, but then die cut all of your shapes first, and then stamp them, and do the trick of when you have stamped one of these, you have your stamping platform. So you put your stamp on your stamping platform lid, you stamp it onto scrap paper, you line this up around that stamped image so you've got the perfect alignment, then you slot your solid piece that, you know, that you've cut loads of to stamp the flowers onto, you line that up back in here, ink up your stamp, and then you can stamp it down, and you'll get the perfect placement that way as well. So you can either go for you know, twisting the flower around to this orientation, lining up this, and then using this as a template to die cut with, just looking for a point on the die and lining that up with a point on the flower, which could be a little bit trial and error depending how good you are at spotting things. I quite like jigsaw puzzles, so I find it quite easy to spot bits like that. Or you can do the die cut first, stamp second method as well. So hopefully one of those tips might help you with either this die set or another die set that you might have, die and stamp set, you know, for doing that kind of thing. So I thought I would just mention that in case. Then the other dies that coordinate is also this die here, which I didn't actually use in the end, but this one coordinates with that side of this corner, so it actually lines up along that edge so that you could turn this into a pocket. I mean, if you use these in your memory books and stuff, this could be stuck down on these two edges and be a lovely floral pocket on the corner of your memory book. You could put this on the inside of your card and put a gift card in it, or tuck in a folded up note into there. Or you could have it on the outside of the card and have like a little tag that pulls out, a photograph that pulls out, or you could just have it as a corner element on a card and not even make it into a pocket as well. It could just be a corner feature on the card, or you can do two of them, one up the other way. I'll show you what that looks like. I've just sort of stamped two on the two corners, but you can build up a really nice design with that gorgeous piece as well. But you do have that die that cuts out the edge of that, which is, it's really nice to have actually, because it just saves you some time with that sort of fussy cutting. It's not too difficult to cut out, but going around all these petals, the bit that they've left you without a die is actually much easier to cut out than the portion that they've given you with the die. So that's great that they've given you the most difficult edge with all the little points around the petals. Then other coordinating dies you get is the leaves, which again you can do it this way and line it up and you can see the whole leaf through the metal, like inside the metal, so you know you can get perfect placement. Or you can do the method with the actual negative of the die cut and do it that way as well if you want to. So you get that leaf, and then you also get this leaf here, and then you get all of the little insects as well, which is really lovely. So you've got the side view of the bee, the top view of the bee, the side view of the ladybird, and the top view of the ladybird as well. And oh yeah, then the rest of the pieces, some of them can coordinate if you want them to. For example, these pieces here, I don't 100% know. I don't think they do like actually line up in a specific way, but if you wanted to do some kind of decoupage with your stamped and coloured flowers, you could use these dies to cut out the centre to then raise that up as well. And you do also have these pieces as well, which you could similarly cut that out as well. You would lose some of the detail of the stamping because of the sort of stitch line detail that's within the die, but it could give a cool effect as well. But I think these dies are mostly to go with the other sunflower dies that are in the set that look like this. There's 4 different ones, and I think they are only designed to actually create a sunflower from cardstock, because I did cut them all out of card and have a go at lining them up, because I thought maybe they'd given them to you because they lined up with one of these sunflowers and then you could cut multiple layers, but they don't. I couldn't get them to line up. They might do, and I just couldn't find the actual match, but I couldn't get them to line up around that. So I'm presuming that all of these flowers are just so that you can make your flower from card if you want to as well, which look equally brilliant as the stamped flowers. So I really love that you've got that option too, which is really nice. Then, as well as all of those dies that I've already shown you, you also get the stem die. So when you're making your sunflower out of cardstock, you've got a stem die to go with it as well. And it's got a little wiggle in it too, which means you could use it up 2 different ways, and then you get a slightly different look to the stalk as well, which is really nice. And then you also get these 2 skinny little pieces, which I don't 100% know what they're for, but I think that they are like little stalks to come off so that you could put the leaves out at a further distance if you wanted to. I did actually stick my leaves straight onto the stems. Yeah, I made sure like the bottom of the leaf was actually stuck straight onto the stem, but you could also use these to create a little sort of shoot that the leaf is then growing off of as well if you want to. So you've got that option too, which is really nice. Then this is the extra leaf that you're getting, so don't forget you can use these leaves for your cardstock as well, but you're also getting this one too. And because these shapes would just be cutting out the stamped image and you haven't got any detail on them, you also get these 3 pieces, which are the vein detail for the leaves, which also looks absolutely brilliant, especially when you cut them in slightly different colours of card. Or in this case, I cut them both in the grass green card, but I then just coloured them with one of the Nouveau alcohol pens to get that darker shade to go on top. So I think that works really nicely as well. And then all of the rest of the dies on here are for creating the centre of your sunflower. So you've got these 2 jaggedy looking ones, which I cut from a darker yellow card and was layering them up as part of the middle of the flower. But I know Dawny cut them from dark brown and used them like that, and it looked really good as well. So there's definitely different ways of using those depending what colour you cut them from. And then you've also got multiple choices for the centres of the flowers as well. So you've got 2 that are cutting with all that detail in them. And then you've got 2 larger ones that will, I think they're exactly the same shape as the outside of these 2, so you can do sort of layering with them. Or I was quite liking the look of cutting this one solid and then putting the smaller one on top of it as well. That looked really nice. And then the final 4 dies are tiny little ones like this. So I'm presuming that is so that you can add that extra middle section to the flower if you wanted to, and you also get 2 of these here that give you that sort of stitch detail, and I think this is what they're meant for. You see in the middle of all the sunflowers on the stamps, they've got an extra dark bit in the middle, because I haven't seen a real sunflower in a while, but I think they kind of dip in the middle, and I think that's what that is sort of representing. So if you wanted to create something like that, you do also have the dies to do that. And I reckon you could use these more solid dies just to cut out that very central piece if you wanted to decoupage it up as well. Or you could just use these smaller ones from cardstock to go on your cardstock flowers as well. So they've thought of everything and like filled up every single little space on the die set with anything extra that they think you might be able to use when creating sunflower cards as well. So I think this is a very impactful kind of stamp and die set combo, and I do really like the fact that it's like the dies aren't just cutting out the stamps. You've actually got the option to completely make a sunflower with leaves and a stem just out of cardstock as well if you want to. Or, saying that as well, I used to do this more than I have been doing recently, but you can cut all of these out of funky foam and then create your own stamps as well. I think these kind of sunflowers, because they're more like recognisable as a sunflower with more of the pointy petals than sort of this kind of shape. This could be like a pom-pom dahlia or something. This is more like recognisable as a sunflower. So I'm thinking if you cut these out of funky foam and used acrylic paint, you could stamp these in yellow colours all over like a big roll of craft paper, and then come back in probably with the solid one with brown acrylic paint, and you know, cut it from funky foam and stamp that in the centre of all the flowers and make yourself some like funky sunflower kind of wrapping paper. I think that would look really good. Or even just using it in your card making as well, or even using the funky foam stamps on your jelly plate as well to like, sort of remove sunflowers from the design as well. And the leaves would look fantastic done in that same kind of way, layering up a lighter green and a darker green. Yeah, so there are tons of different ways of using just the dies, the stamps and dies, just the stamps as well. So back in 1 second to show you the samples that I've done too. So I got a little carried away with the samples, and I wanted to experiment. So I was trying out like 3 different kind of completely different looking styles that you could do with this stamp and die set. So these 2 are just using the dies, and then I brought in a die cut sentiment to go with that just die kind of a look. Then these 2, I wanted to experiment with watercolouring with them, so I heat embossed them in gold and then watercoloured them. And then these 2, which I'll show you first, these are the ones that I did on my sped up video. They might be the most boring out of the 3 different types that I did, but I didn't know that at the time and I made the other ones first. But I wanted to do this because with the Stamp Club, you get the dies with it. So in your brain, you're kind of like, well, I paid for the dies, then I should use the dies with the stamps. But I wanted to show you the difference between using the stamps and dies and just using the stamps, because they do actually give really different looks. Because the dies cut out with the white edge, it kind of gives maybe more of like a cartoony style, or it almost looks like stickers because you've got the white edge around them. Not that it looks bad, I just wanted to show you the difference between them, because as you get the dies with the stamp set, you kind of feel like you should make a card that requires you to cut the stamped images out because you have the dies. But don't think that you have to use the dies if you have the dies, if you know what I mean. I don't know whether anybody thinks like that, but I just thought I just thought of it the other day, and I thought, well, why not do exactly the same card? Okay, I did change it slightly because I don't like making 2 cards exactly the same, but showing you side by side like the actual difference that it makes, just taking the time to cut out your own little post-it note masks, so rather than die cutting them and adding them on afterwards. I mean, I don't know whether one looks better than the other, or whether, I don't know, I feel like this one maybe looks a little bit more realistic because you haven't got the white edge around the pieces that are overlapping, but then I really like the look of this one as well. So I just wanted to show you both of them, and it just ended up being the ones that I filmed for my sped up video, so I'm sorry if that's a little bit boring, but I did kind of show you the colouring of the sunflowers in them too, and I used Nuvo alcohol pens. I've actually put them all away now, but in the sped up video I did hold the pens up to the screen, so you will be able to know what colours I was using. But I just wanted to show the difference between just stamping and die cutting, and I can't decide which one I do like better, because I'm kind of like, maybe I do like this one better, but then I look at this and then the bee stands out more because it has the white outline, whereas the bee's more hidden. But then is that good? Because then you're looking at the card and you're like, oh, there's a bee in the middle. So I'm not really sure which way I think looks better, but the good thing is about the Stamp Club, you have both options, you know. You don't have to fussy cut everything yourself. You can actually, you know, instantly use the dies to cut them out, but if you like fussy cutting, you can still like fussy cut masks out of sticky notes to be able to do this kind of mask look as well. So I just wanted to show you the difference side by side, almost exactly the same card, what the difference kind of looks like. So hopefully that will have, you know, helped somebody decide which way they like it better or whatever, or it might make you experiment with a bit of masking as well. But you'll see in that video how you do the masking and everything. So I just thought I'd do those two really simple ones. And then these were the two where I just really wanted to experiment with heat embossing with them, because they are quite kind of like Van Gogh sort of style, and I thought having the gold outlines would kind of make it look a little bit more like his style, because you've not got like the stark white or black outline around them. It's sort of more blending in to the image. But anyway, with this one I did multiple large sunflowers, and this one I actually got around the fact of masking, because I stamped the flowers first and then I added the embossing powder and I heat set them, and then I put more anti-static powder on, just because you never know where you might have like put your fingerprint on there, and then I came back in and stamped the leaves with sticky ink, but I didn't mask the flowers, because all you have to do is just take a small dry paintbrush and brush away the powder wherever it's overlapping the flower. You can kind of see the outline, you can just about see it in here. But it is pretty much disguised, really. You can probably only see it now because I pointed it out. But it just saves time. You don't have to actually mask them off if you don't want to. You can just use your clear sticky ink and then knock off the powder from anywhere where the leaf is overlapping the flower. So that's just kind of like a cool cheat way of doing it. And I just used some watercolours and some mica-y kind of watercolours in here as well, just to colour these gorgeous sunflowers, and it's just that lovely bright colour. I mean, I've used kind of different colours for all three of these. I mean, these are actually quite similar. The Nuvo pens and the Nuvo cardstocks, quite similar. But I suppose I've used a little bit more orange within the watercoloured ones. But they're just so gorgeous and bright and lovely. You can't help but brighten someone's day, or like have a smile on your face when you look at them. So that is the first one, and then this one is using the corner one twice. So I've got it once down here and then flipped it round and done it once at the top as well. I had also, under here, I had also heat embossed a bee, but it went a bit blobby with the heat embossing. So I decided to just cover it with the sentiment, and I combined two together to say, hey, you've got this. And I just remembered I didn't tell you the sentiments on the stamp set, did I? Okay, so I forgot to tell you the sentiments on the stamp set. So the first one says, I'm so glad you're my friend. I'm here for you. I appreciate you. Sending. You brighten my day. Sunshine. So you can do sending sunshine. You've got this. And then hey, and you are my. So you can do you are my sunshine. Hey, you've got this. Hey, I appreciate you. You know, lots of different combinations. Sorry I missed them off earlier. You're probably shouting at the screen like, you didn't tell us the sentiments. But at least I've done it now. I remembered, so that's good. So those are the heat embossed ones, and then the final ones is just using the dies to create the flowers as well, and they just give a completely different look. I mean, these here are the same stamp, and they give a completely different look with a black outline to a gold outline. And then these ones are obviously just the dies, so they have no outline to them. So again, it gives a completely different style. And I just did a simple card and then a little tag as well, because I'd made 4 flowers, so I thought I'd just add one to a tag. And I just did a shimmer powdery kind of background with blue Blitz shimmer powder in the background, and this is actually the Simply White Nouveau drops. I knew they'd pick up the blue colour, but I quite like that because it makes them more subtle. And then I was using grass green Craft Perfect textured card, and I coloured the veining in the centre with, what number was it? 417 from the alcohol markers, and then I was using 416 to add a little bit of texture or detail on the solid green leaves as well. And then on the actual sunflowers, I think I was using apricot and mustard cardstock, I think, and then I was using 391 and 405 to add the colouring onto that one, and then the brown is just a dark brown cardstock from my stash, but I was using 465 from the Nouveau alcohol pens to add a little bit of detail on that as well. And then the sentiments on these two are actually 2 of the ones that came out recently with when the shaker creator pocket things launched, and I only had 2 of them, so I treated myself to the rest of them, and so I was using Best Wishes and Way to Go. But the other ones that are in the set of 7 of them are Keep It Up, Hello There, which is one of the ones I have, What's Up, Welcome Home, and then HBTU as well. So I thought they're a really nice little selection of sentiments. You can never have too many sentiments, and it's always nice to just keep adding a few into your stash so that you've got loads of different ones to pick from and to go with different styles. And I think these are just a really lovely modern fun kind of font to them as well. And all I did was cut them twice from dark brown and once from white, and then I offset them against each other just to make it like a really simple kind of sentiment. And then the tag for this one is actually this new set that's come out recently, which is the Luxury Layering Luggage Tag die set. I'm not 100% sure if it's available on the website yet, because you have to wait 30 days after it's been on Create and Craft. But I will link it below the video, and then when it is on the website, it won't say it out of stock anymore. But this is the die set that I've used, and these tags are quite deceptive, like the size of them on the packaging. They're really large. That largest one is 7 inches tall, and I think I used the 3rd size down because mine had a heart hole in it. So they're really, really lovely, these tags, and I just thought I'd make a tag with the remaining flower that I had. So yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this up close look at Tonic Stamp Club number 10, which is the Sunshine and Sunflowers stamp and coordinating die set. And as I said at the beginning, I'll link everything below the video, and there'll also be picture links on my blog as well. So if you'd rather look at little pictures to find what I was talking about, especially when I said about the country jug and stuff as well, that would look really good with the die cut flowers, because it is actually a die to cut the jug out. It would all look, would all go together really nicely if the flowers were also die cut. So these flowers with the leaves on them and everything would look really lovely in that country jug die set as well. So yeah, I will link everything below the video and on my blog as well if you're interested in any of it. And thank you so much for watching, and I will see you again in the next video. Bye!